We are live, Magic Mania. We are right here with you, and we got the boys. We got Josh, Juan, and Luca, and we got you covered for everything Orlando Magic offseason related so far. We've got quite an offseason going so far. It seems like the Magic seem to punt this offseason up to 2026 and focus a little bit more on the internal growth of this team over the next few years. But we got quite a few topics to talk about. We got a new draft pick, added some shooting to this team and added some veteran leadership in KCP, former champion from the Denver Nuggets. But let's get right into it, guys, and we'll start off chronologically. I like what we talked about that, and we'll start off with Tristan da Silva, right? Draft pick. We took him. Was it 15th or 16th? I think we had picked. So, ended up taking him. Movement shooter, right? Connect got taken right before, so I was really hoping that Dalton Connect might have taken that extra fall to the Magic, but we ended up with Tristan da Silva. Like I said, good shooter, movement shooter as well. But Juan, I'll let you kind of get the first book on this one. What was your initial reactions to the Magic taking Tristan da Silva, and what do you see him translating from his college game to the NBA?
Yeah, initially I was pretty surprised with the pick just based on the research I was doing. I guess I was just looking in the wrong direction compared to the front office, but I think that was a really solid pick. At 18. You're really looking at some role players and some developmental players that will turn into starters. And I think that's exactly what they got in da Silva, a 6'10", stretch wing kind of player who could really space the floor. And, he really resembles a little bit of Franz Wagner's game, if you will. And he's able to knock down that three. He's got a really smooth jump shot. And he's only going to get better. He's 23, I think about to be 24 years old. So he's already established. He's, one of those players that will come in and, can kind of not have those growing pains like some rookies who are coming in at 18 or 19. So that's some good experience for this team. And overall, I think it was a pretty good pick.
Yeah, you always like seeing those 3-4 year seniors coming into the league because they have their bodies a little more mature. Their game is able to translate a little bit easier as well. And, it just has a little bit more of an understanding of the game. It's slowed down a little bit better. You saw guys like, Jaime Jaquez for the Heat, came in, had an immediate impact, right? Top 5, I think, in Rookie of the Year. And that experience plays a big part of it. So I do think that's a good point. Josh, what did you see from the pick? And did you like the way that we went with things?
Yeah, overall, I like the pick. I think it adds to our offense, which is what we needed value in. So, and I saw there's an article that said, what we were looking for: shooting, skill, IQ, character, positional size. It's everything Jeff Weltman was trying to solve. And after looking at da Silva's stats, he checks all those boxes. So plus he's got the connection with the Wagner brothers. The German connection. I think he fits in team chemistry wise. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the pick.
Absolutely, and with that, like you said, having that connection just makes things a little bit easier, right? When you translate that game over and, you have to, think about this is a young person changing a big part of their life as well. So there's a lot of outside factors that go into that. So just having some of the comfortability, like you said, with the Wagner brothers is going to be super helpful in that way. Luca, I know you had a lot of different names that you were looking into for this one. How did da Silva line up against some of the names that you had?
I'm not going to, not to take credit, y'all can quote me on this. We can go back in the last episode if we want. But I do think I remember saying that Tristan da Silva would have been a nice pick. Because I'm not going to lie, I've been high on the guy. Ever since I saw him in the tournament, I really thought that. I feel like with especially in the tournament, you can tell just based off how a player dribbles the ball, how they come off screens. You can just tell by looking at a player when they're going to be. I feel like you can kind of get that sense when they're going to be a good player in the league. I think Tristan da Silva does have, like Josh said, checks off all those boxes. We can look at his stats with 16 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and almost 2 threes per game, and also shooting 49.3% from the three and 83.5 from the charity stripe. I'm not going to lie, bro. That sounds like a walking bucket if you ask me at 6'8". And don't even get me started on how handsy and how active he is on the defensive end. I really do think that this was an absolutely great pickup for the Magic. I think what Juan said also does have validity. I think that a lot of people thought they were going to go guard, shooter type of guy, or big man, depending on what's happening with Wendell Carter and going on in the future. But I do think that Tristan da Silva is a great pick, and I do think that any NBA roster would be happy to have add his skill set to the team. And on top of that, like you said, he's a moving shooter. He shoots a variety of different shots. We're not talking just stand-still corners. We're talking off the pick and roll. We're talking pick and roll handoffs, slip passes too. He's a great passer as well. And I do think that he's honestly going to be one of the sneaky picks in this draft class. And I think that the main reason why he went so low is just because a lot of other teams just needed big men and guards. And I think that's really the only reason. I think if it was another draft class, he would have went higher, because I really do feel like his skill set is very unique and versatile for his size. The only question I would say is his ceiling, because we know his floor is very high, but I think his ceiling is really where people are worrying about, especially when you bring up age and this factor in the NBA. In this day and age in the NBA, it doesn't matter how good you are at all. It matters about how old you are, which is a bit sad. Because he is 23, but he's just as skilled as any of the other guys on the board. So I think it's a really good pick for the Magic, and I think it's just going to continue to just embody this movement that they're creating with these very versatile forwards, with Paolo Banchero, with Franz Wagner, with even Mo Wagner, who's 6'11", but he doesn't move like 6'11". He moves more like 6'6". So I think it's a very interesting pick, and I think it's going to be good for the franchise for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, a guy that can become a mainstay for a long time. Having a 3-and-D guy is such an asset in today's league, because really at the end of the day, that's the two most important parts of the game, right? Shooting the three and defensively, right? Being able to guard up on the other end. So I think you brought up a great point. He can be a guy where maybe the ceiling isn't, out of the way. It's not something that's crazy, but you can have a high level, guy that can guard multiple positions, right? Can guard up, maybe even, like you said, with his movement, guard down a little bit with that wingspan as well. And also you can throw him and fit him in that 3 spot potentially next to Paolo, next to Franz, next to Mo, right? You can have a multiple different varieties of the lineup usages that you can have with him as well. So definitely excited to see him. They're probably, in my opinion, I think they're going to most likely bring him off the bench and, have him come in and just learn some of those, just intricacies that goes into the NBA game, and where he's going to want to find his shots, which shot he wants to take, which shots you try to maybe look for a better shot, right? And kind of not force those things. So going to be interested to see how he develops. But I think this is a case where, you have a guy that will be able to make much more of an immediate impact than Anthony Black, and I think with him, you'll be able to see his impact a lot more. With Black, obviously, he's got a lot more development to do. But this is a guy I think you will see just have a little bit more impact on that side of things. And speaking of impact, free agency is one of the great ways that teams do that. But for this season, it seemed like with all the off-season cap space that the Magic had, they decided to punt. It seemed they decided to punt to 2026 with a couple of 2-year deals and some 3 years with player options or team options on the end. But it seemed like with, Paul George going to the 76ers, and, you had a bunch of guys, Donovan Mitchell staying where he is, Dejounte Murray getting moved as well to the Pelicans. You had Chris Paul going to the Spurs. You had most of the bigger names, Klay Thompson
to the Mavericks, yep.
Yeah, so, a lot of the bigger names that were potentially discussed got taken pretty early, So it seemed like this Magic team punted to 2026. We did sign, like I said, the biggest quote-unquote signing would be that KCP contract. But outside of that, bringing guys like Mo Wagner back, bringing guys like you said, Jonathan Isaac back on a 5-year, $84 million degree and on that one. And then also Gary Harris coming back, which maybe not the biggest fan of that one just due to his health, on that side of things and his availability. But what he brings on that side of things. So, Josh, I'll go back to you on this one. Out of all the, or what has been, instead of talking about the picks individually, what has been your overall reaction to the Magic's offseason as far as the free agency side of things go?
I think definitely with KCP coming to the Magic, you fill that offensive hole. I think last season the Magic ranked 22nd in the league, so they needed some help with that. And you got a guy who has championship experience. One with the Lakers, one with the Nuggets, and he's no slouch on defense either. So I think that was a great pickup for the Magic. And then you got fan favorites like Jonathan Isaac, for a relatively affordable deal, I'd say 5 years, $84 million, I believe, in that range. Yeah, it's not horrible for for his caliber player. It does remain if he can stay healthy, but I think for now it's something you can work with. And then just all the others, re-signings, Joe Ingles,
Jingles actually
continue.
went to the Timberwolves.
Oh, okay. Well, no, never mind. So,
No, you good.
yeah. But I think overall they're in a good spot, and to continue building on the success they saw this past season.
Right, and I think that's the key word really there is just building off of last year, because that's what
Yes.
you're going to see, because they replaced the veteran leadership of Joe Ingles with KCP, right? In my
Yes.
opinion, once you did that, there was really no reason to bring Joe Ingles back. Also, you're going to add that extra
Right.
shooting with De Silva too. So really at that point, Ingles, he does have that nice old man bag that you see some of the tricks sometimes.
Grandpa Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That, gets you some nice buckets. Well, he'll do some crafty things, but I think, like you said, KCP brings a lot younger as well, just 31 years old, multiple time NBA champion. So he's going to bring a lot of experience as far as, okay, what does this team need to do to win? Because why do you lose a game 7 when you're up 18? It's experience, right?
Yep.
This team lacks experience. And
Yep.
so that's one of the big things. Like, hey, he'll be able to settle these guys down, relate to them, even though coach is a great, he's good at relating to the players already. Just someone on their level, like how Udonis, did for the Heat, or, just having someone on that player like a Chris Paul, or, just one of those veteran type Andre Iguodala type style players that really just kind of settle the team down on a mental aspect as well. But Juan, as far as that one goes, we kind of talked about it over the text. Do you feel the Magic punted to 2026, or what do you feel like was the primary reason for maybe just having some more smaller signings versus going for a bigger signing?
Yeah, and I think, maybe the Magic front office is definitely looking forward to a different off season. I don't think they were such a fan of this one. Maybe they had their eyes on a DeJounte Murray or somebody else, and the asking price was a little too high for their liking. I'm not too sure, because you look at this offseason and it looks like they did punt. They did get KCP, as we've been talking about, but they've decided to run it back with just about everybody. You go and you keep Goga, you keep Jonathan Isaac, you keep all these guys for depth and continuity. And I guess you got to wonder, is that the front office, is that coaching that's really trying to, what do they see? Do they see that they can really build something with what we've already got in house, or are they looking down the line? But it's very interesting. I think KCP definitely is a great addition to this team. He's very versatile. You can put him on teams' best players and give Suggs a little bit of slack and go put him on a different player. He's able to knock down the open three, which is something we've been needing. So now you add him with Tristan De Silva, who can knock down the open three, and all the other shooters we already have on the team. So we're trying to get better with that, beyond the arc, which we were suffering from last season. But I think overall, I'd give it probably like a C+, B- off season. Not that it was great and not that it was horrible. I think it was just good so far. I think that, we may see some other moves down the line, but when it comes to signings, I think that's probably about it. But I think we might see a trade just with, we have a little bit of cloggage in certain positions still, I think.
Absolutely. And like you said, it was really just a very middle of the pack. And I think that's a good one. We'll transition over the grades to that one. But looking at some of the unrestricted 2026 free agents, you have Steph Curry, right? Jimmy didn't sign a contract extension yet, so Jimmy Butler is there, right? You have Kevin Durant in there. Going down the list as well, you got Kyrie Irving, SGA. I don't think signed a extension yet as well, so maybe that's coming up this year for that. And then on player options, you got Dame on a player option, you got Brad Beal on a player option, Zach LaVine and Luka on a player option, Trae Young on a player option. Yeah, so that offseason, even just going down the list, you have some more guys like Andrew Wiggins, Kristaps Porzingis, De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, this is a 2026.
Coach Mo has that connection with Luka already with his time in Dallas. So
he's not coming to Orlando. That'd be crazy.
It's hard to see him leaving Dallas with what they just did there. But you can always dream, and at the end of the day, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But 2026 free agency class is a lot deeper than this one. And you have a lot more variability, a lot more holes you can fill. And they aren't just old guys too, because the last thing you want to do with this team is put somebody or take someone that takes the ball out of the hands of the growing players, right? So I think although I do agree with you, Juan, with like the free agency grades, I'm not mad at it, because it's going to allow for those guys to develop a little bit more, and with that side of things too. Luca's about to die out here. Luca, give me your grade real quick on the Magic offseason before you cop out.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I actually think I'm honestly probably about to shock y'all word, but I think it's honestly I think they did a really perfect thing with the offseason because I really feel like that Paul George would have been nice, but I feel like if you bring in Paul George, that just stunts the growth of Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner is literally coming into a superstar role just like Paulo is. I think they're gonna bounce off of each other really well. So I think the signing of KCP is absolutely perfect. I think that they should keep the squad they have going for and continue to build off that. Josh mentioned that KCP is no slouch on defense. KCP and Jalen Suggs were both in the top 5% of players who guarded the on-ball best defender on the other team. So I think that immediately this is right there, just how good defensively that's going to be. We already know he can knock down the three. Like you guys said, he brings championship DNA to the squad. So I think it's honestly a solid pickup. I'm honestly going to rate the signings, to be honest, as free agency. I'll give it a B+ because I feel like it is really good that they didn't really do anything too much because I think like the growth of Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner is what's going to propel this franchise forward. Like Juan said, I do think we have a little bit of cloggage in some position. I think we do have a lot of forwards. Center we could get a little bit better at. And going on 2026, I really do think that 2026 comes around. I feel like they should just make the trade push again, to be honest. He's still going to be young. He's going to get even more developed in the league. He's still going to have that shooting prowess. And I think that Steph Curry will be a bit too old. Kyrie Irving will be a little bit too old. Kevin Durant, don't sign him. No, do not sign Kevin Durant. Simple, point blank, period. But maybe those guards can implement something, more veteran leadership into that position, which is something that we'll need. And Jalen Suggs will need that sort of mentorship from somewhere. So maybe one of those guys can give it to him. But I do think the offseason so far has honestly been really, really good. And I think that they did everything right. I think the only thing they could have done a little bit better, like you said, was maybe get a big man or another guard. But I think for the most part, the personnel they brought in was absolutely perfect to a T.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I wouldn't give them a B+. I'll disagree with you on that because they didn't really necessarily bring in that many impact players. They more so retained what they had and, added KCP, right? That's like the big free agency fish on that side of things. You wouldn't really even call that a whale. That's more like, you just go fishing on a Sunday. But it's still a good addition, right? It gets you what you want out of the championship experience. Like you said, I mean, I didn't even know that top 5 statistics. So now you have 2 guys that will hamper any other team's opposing guards. Like there's no backcourt that
straight jacket.
Absolutely straight backcourt for this team.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Super excited to see that. And this team is so lengthy already. If you have 2 point of attack defenders as well as we have, and then on top of that you have guys that are like Paolo that are almost 7 foot at 3 or 4 position. Like it's just insane how long this team is. No diddy. But Josh, I'll let you go ahead and just kind of give me your grade as well.
I like what they've done. To Lucas' point, could they have done more? Yes, but overall, I think you have Paulo, Franz. You want to build around these guys, and I think essentially running it back seems like the best option right now. And then when 2026 comes around, you can make some bigger moves. But for now, I think building off of the success of last season, KCP is a great asset. De Silva, 4 years at Colorado, I think we'll see some movement from him. And just keep moving forward. Let's see how this plays out at the start of the season.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to see. And of course, I think with this team, with the trajectory, with all the internal growth that's going on with this squad, you don't necessarily need that signing impact player right now, right? You're going to get a lot of growth from the internal of this team. You have, Coach Jamal Mosley, who's just going to have more chemistry with his players. You're bringing in, like you said, Luca, just a versatile piece, right? A very plug-and-play kind of guy where maybe those kind of guys don't have a ceiling as high as some other players, but what they're going to bring to it. And being a 4-year player coming in, just having that experience, even if it's 15, 20 minutes a game, he can have a really good impact. And, I mean, if you talk about just straight up defensively, you have 2 guys in, KCP and Jalen Suggs. You can pretty much throw De Silva at any third body on there. And he'll be fine with that. So he doesn't even need to be guarding the best player or the best wing. You have other guys to do that for you as well. So I really like what we have here. But closing thoughts, Juan, I'll let you get closing thoughts this time, man. Close us out. How did you feel about this offseason 4? And do you expect us? I'll let you kind of close out with this, and I'll let you touch on the other as well. Just a quick answer. Do you expect the Magic to make any more moves or have any impact moves before the end of the offseason?
Yeah, overall, as I mentioned, I think it was a decent offseason, and multiple factors for that. They might be looking down the line at a different year, wanting to retain some of their guys now. Multiple factors, but I think overall they did a good job. They didn't do anything that was like truly head scratching or something we'll regret. Adding KCP, that championship pedigree, is only going to help Paulo and Franz, which that's really the goal, is to make them as good as possible. Because if you get Paulo to the level we need to get him to, then it really won't matter who we bring in, and we've seen that all over the league. You just play certain players and that's it. So I think, we continue to do that. I think, there's, obviously room for us to still improve this roster. You got Wendell Carter. That's a very interesting situation. We've already paid the bulk of his deal. So now that's very intriguing to other teams. So you partner that with, whatever you want, I guess.
Trade him to the Bucks. Trade him to the Bucks.
I mean, someone will take Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, he's not a bad player, especially if you're looking for a backup center or a low end starter. Wendell's your guy, and that's not a knock on him. That's just kind of where he is in his career right now. So you mentioned that, and we just got to wait and see what happens. I think we could still use some height, some rim protecting. We still don't have a 7-footer on this team. I think Mo is still our tallest player now, 6'10". So I think that's where we can improve. And also maybe a veteran point guard, playmaker. Of course, we can still monitor the Markelle Fultz situation. He's still, out there in the market. Hasn't really, had much traction. So could we get him for a low price? Probably. I'm not too sure. But I think a veteran point guard, maybe for trade or a signing, would be nice as well. So I think if we do that, I think we'll be in great shape. You look at KCP, that's our biggest signing. So did he get us to 3-4 games better than we were last year? I think he makes us about 3 games better. So, I mean, we're talking about 4th seed, 3rd seed, if that's the case, depending on, how this next season goes. So,
and that's not, like we were talking about, that doesn't factor in the growth of the players.
Exactly.
That's just KCP by himself adding in a couple of games. So, I mean, with what this team has done, like you said, that brings you up to a 4, maybe a 3 seed. Although the East has gotten highly competitive, you have guys like the 76ers that are definitely going to roll up. Obviously Boston's going to be there, but this East is going to be very exciting to watch, to see. And like you said, you didn't make any moves that messed you up. You didn't sign Thomas Bryant with a no trade contract,
Right.
no trade clause. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to Miami Heat for doing that. But Sleepy Pat's on the job right now. But as far as the Magic goes, Luka, do you expect the Magic to make any offseason moves or any more impact offseason moves before we see the end of the offseason?
I would say no. I don't think they're going to make any more impact signings. I think they're cool with the guys that they have. They're happy with bringing in KCP. Like we say, KCP brings more than just pedigree, of course. Championship pedigree. Averaged 10 points per game on 46% from the field, 40% from the three, 2.2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. He's averaged a steal almost every single year he's been in the NBA, except for 4. And at those 4 years, 9. So you already know what you're getting with him, and he's won with 2 separate teams. He's won with LeBron. He's won with Jokic, played with Jamal Murray. He's got a lot of great teammates that he can say how he's played with. So I think there's nothing more than the intellect is more valuable than what he brings, and I think that they're really happy with what he has. And I think I don't really see. I don't think they need anything right now. I think the future is what they have right now. Jamal Mosley, he's still a very young coach. In case we forgot, guys, Paolo Banchero is still only in his 2nd year in the NBA. That's crazy. Right. But that's still insane. So that boy still has so much growing to do. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Wade won his first championship in his 3rd season. So I mean, let's see if Paulo can do something like that. Right? You know what I mean? So that would be definitely impressive if he's able to do something. And like you said, I mean, you saw what he can do, putting up almost 40-point bombs in the playoffs. So
and he can't even shoot like that. Imagine he gets a strap on him.
Right. He became, and he raised, like we talked about in earlier weeks, he raised his shooting in the postseason, which is what you want to see. His player elevates themselves, So, Josh, I'll let you kind of have the final word. Any more signings do you see the Magic making, or do you think they're happy with their team also?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make any huge waves with signings after this point. I think they've got a decent roster right now, or at least a core, and we'll see how it shakes out this coming season. I think, like Juan said, KCP comes with that championship pedigree, and I think that helps guide the team a little bit. It is a young squad still. Like Lucas said, Paulo's in his going into his third year. So a lot of these guys have high ceilings, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, what's next for the Magic? You got the summer league coming up, so we'll get to see Tristan da Silva out there, hopefully.
I'm
So
excited.
yeah.
And I'm also, we haven't really mentioned his name. I mean, Anthony Black, right? Like he was a guy that's drafted pretty high up there, so maybe we get to see him, show some of his growth in the summer league. I know we have the California Classic first and then Vegas after.
Yeah,
when it comes to that side of things, is the Magic, do you guys know if the Magic will be playing in the California Classic also?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
No, I think it's just California teams in there.
Okay, that's what I thought, on that side of things. But yeah, regardless, we're going to keep you guys covered right here for all your off-season news, topics, reactions, all that good stuff. We'll keep you right here covered. So make sure you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe. It's free. And if you don't want to subscribe, let us know in the comments why. Let us know why we're shit. So at least we can be better, right? So let us know why. Make sure you like the video. We appreciate that as always. And as always, Josh.
Go Magic.
Bang.
Hell yeah.
There we go.